Hi there, and welcome back to Cooking with Love. This is our 5th episode. And like I mentioned in our very first, every once in a while we're going to leave Italy and go to another country and do something from there. And today is one of those days. Today we're going to visit Spain. In fact, the east coast of Spain in the Valencian region, where we're going to learn about a dish that originated from there, and that is paella. We're going to do a sausage and chicken paella, which, believe it or not, is the more traditional version of it. And this is a dish that a lot of people shy away from. They think it's going to be very difficult. And while it does have lots of pieces to it, it actually is quite a simple thing to pull together. And we're going to show you how to do that. We're going to do it in 3 steps. We're going to use the same pan for every step. And at the end of it all, I think you'll be surprised at just how easy paella can be. So when we come back, we're going to jump into that first step and get started. Okay, so step 1 is we're going to get our sausages in the pan and get those browned on both sides. And to do that, we're going to start with about 1/4 cup of olive oil. And you'll notice I have a really large pan here. It's a very large skillet. And this is really about the size that it's going to end up at. So I'm doing it in a large pan to start. And the first thing, as I said, is I've got some olive oil in there. It's getting a little warm. The burner's on. And I'm going to pour in some chorizo sausage. And when I do that, I want to make sure that I get them all so that they are flat on the pan, so that I can brown all sides. And that's really the goal here, is just to make sure that all sides of the sausage are brown. Now you can see from looking at it that I've done them on a little bit of a thin slice. So you don't need to brown all the sides. Just the top and bottom is going to do it for you here. And that doesn't take very long. Oh, and the smell. If you could smell this, I swear to God. Already, as those oils from the pork and the pork fat come leaching out from the oil and being in the heat, the smell is immediate and really quite delicious. Now you could also use Italian sausage for this if you'd like. I'm going with the more traditional Spanish chorizo, but Italian sausage is absolutely acceptable. And you'll see here it doesn't take very long. I'm just going to flip each one of these over, make sure we get them nice and brown. If you're doing Italian sausage, you probably need to do this a little longer so that you cook it not all the way through necessarily, because it is going to be finished in the oven, but you definitely want them brown on all sides. So you can see how we're just about there. All right, that looks good to me. Now what we're going to add right to this pan while the sausages are cooking are a number of things. First is garlic. So we have some chopped garlic right here. We're going to break that up. We are going to add 3 different colors of bell pepper, and we've sliced those in strips, small strips. Really is a beautiful dish too, with all the colors, as you can tell right away. So I'm mixing those all together here. And it doesn't take very long to incorporate all those flavors together. To that, we're going to add some finely chopped tomatoes and red onion. And that is all you need for this first step. So all we're going to do here is continue to let this saute up for just a few moments. Probably take 2 or 3 minutes to get these things tender. And move all, as you can tell, I'm moving it around because I want all those flavors to be all over the pan. So in other words, all the vegetables have the flavor, the sausages have the flavor of the vegetables and the onions and tomatoes and the garlic. And that's really all you're trying to accomplish here, is getting those things started. Let that sit for a moment. Again, same process if you were using Italian sausage. Just make, as I said, you'll just probably have to, it'll take a little longer for you to brown those. Well, that's looking good. Now all we need to do is turn that over on. We're going to move this mixture the sausage mixture is what I guess I'll refer to this, into a side dish. And then we're going to come back to this pan and do the second step. Okay, so now that we've moved our sausage mixture off into a plate waiting, we have our same pan right here, pretty well emptied out, although there are little bits of onion in there, and that's perfectly okay. What we're going to do is add a little more oil to the pan. And now is time for the chicken. So we've got the oil in there, we've got, turn that heat on, and we are going to put in here, now you can hear that wonderful sizzle. We're going to add here about 2 pounds of chicken breasts, boneless chicken breast, as you can tell. And this, again, we're going to saute and brown all sides. So that's not really like you can flip them over so much as you kind of move them around because they're soft. But it doesn't, again, doesn't take that long. Just make sure they're in a single, layer in your pan. And what I like to do is I like to get it started for a few moments, and then to that we're going to add all the spices that the dish calls for. And of course, as you'd imagine, there's salt and pepper. But what makes paella truly paella are the paprika and the cumin. And your paella will be as spicy as the paprika you use. So we're using a smoked paprika, which really doesn't have too much of a kick to it. But I used the hot chorizo to help with that process. So we're going to have a spicy paella, but it's not going to be overbearing. You can do whatever you'd like, and that's the beautiful thing about cooking. You like it hot? My goodness. By all means, get that hot, smoky paprika and the hot chorizo and enjoy. All right, so as this is starting to turn, what we're going to do, as I mentioned, is add our spices. You can see from looking at it, there's all different types. I have them in the same bowl here. We have some, bring that back to you. We have some paprika. We have cumin, which is also another smoky flavor. Let's get all that goodness out of there. There's some salt, pepper. There's a little rosemary. And that is right there. And you can see how beautiful that's going to give it that nice orangey red color, too, that you're probably familiar seeing. And you can see the chicken is getting pretty cooked on all sides. Again, we're not cooking this all the way through, but we do want to cook it a bit. And the reason being, the last step of this, or the finishing step, I should say, is putting it in the oven. We're going to bake it, and we are only going to do that for about 20-25 minutes. And so if you give your chicken a head start, that's your best bet. Again, the smell on this, Fred, am I kidding here? It's awesome, isn't it? Turn him around, there we go. And you can see, basically you don't want to see any of the raw chicken bits before you move over. And like we did with the first pan of vegetables and sausage, we'll move over the chicken to the second dish, and then we'll begin with our third step here. So we're going to just let this saute for just another minute or so. I'm going to move it off into our second dish, and then I'll move to the third step. Okay, so the final step is let's get the rice part of this all done, which is key to a paella. And to do that, again, same pan. As you can tell, I've moved the chicken over. I have the sausage mixture waiting. All we're going to do now is we're going to pour a little bit more of that oil into the pan. We're going to get that a little warm. And then what we're going to put into there is our rice. We just use a regular rice. And we're going to let that saute up a bit. And part of the reason you want your rice to saute, and actually there are different schools of thought on this, by the way, but from all the looking and researching and talking I've done with folks, the real reason to saute up that rice is to get the outside kernel a little firmer so that the rice, when you are doing a slow cooking, as we will to finish this off, maintains its integrity. and you'll have actually little pieces of rice as opposed to pieces of mush. So we're just going to move that around the pan and saute that up a bit. We're coating it with oil, which is also part of that process. You don't have to lose sleep over this, though. It's going to be delicious no matter what it looks like. So you will hear it start to pop. Let me see if I can quiet down here and see. You probably just start hearing that rice pop. And that's when you know it's getting to a good point there. There we go. Yeah. It's getting to that point of a good saute. And once you feel like this rice is all nice and coated, maybe sauteed up a bit, which we're pretty close on, we're going to add back the sausage mixture and toss that around. We're going to then add back the chicken and toss that around. And then we'll add chicken stock to that, a little saffron, which is key to most paellas, and a little peas, and we are going to be good to go at that point. So I think we're just about there, and I want to show you how we add back all this other stuff. It's really starting now. I can hear it. I'm sure you can too. Nice. It even sounds good. Great. Okay, so now that we're hearing that rice all be nice and sauteed, it's clearly well coated. You can tell by looking at it that all has a nice little coating of olive oil on it, which helps to maintain that as well. So it absorbs properly. To this now, I'm going to take our pan of our sausage mixture here, and we are going to just add that in all of those juices that came with it right back into our pan. We're going to turn that around here and toss it around, I should say. And again, notice I'm using one utensil, one pan for this entire dish. And as you have all of your ingredients ready to go and in order, you can see how simple of a dish this actually is. All right, here's the chicken. As the chicken has been resting, of course, there is tons of juice that is released from it, and we get all of that delicious juice in there as well. And we're going to move that all around and incorporate all that together. And then there's simply 3 more ingredients to this, all right here next to me, ready to go. And once you've kind of tossed that all around, which we have, we're going to add about 48 ounces of chicken stock, which we have here, right into that pan. Now this pan's going to be full, so you want to make sure you use 2 hands when we move it in a moment. Ah, my goodness, there we go. And to this stock right now, we're going to add some saffron. Now saffron here is, I'm sure you've all heard of saffron. Let me put that right into my hands, actually. It's actually the stamen, or the stigmas, I should say, of a crocus flower. And to get an amount of saffron, the good news is saffron, you don't need very much. The bad news is that it's the world's most expensive spice. And the reason, and I'm going to put this right in the pan now since you've seen it, the reason why it's expensive is because those little wisps, those little threads you just saw, it takes about 14,000 of them to make 1 ounce. Now, every crocus that they come from only has 3. So if you do the math, there's like 5,000 crocus in each ounce of saffron. And the reason it's so expensive is because there is no other way to cultivate that than by hand. So it's incredibly labor intensive. And I have no idea who the first person was to figure out it actually had any flavor. But whoever they ought to, have a plaque somewhere or a statue somewhere, because saffron is really a beautifully smoky, wonderful flavor. And in paella, it is one of those those flavors that you will immediately detect. And then finally here, we're going to put some beautiful green peas right on top and move that around. And at this point, all we need to do is take this pan. I'm going to bring it back into the oven. You're going to put it on the lowest rack of your oven, at an oven that has been preheated to about 200 degrees. Yes, just 200 degrees. So I'm going to bring it back, put it in the oven for about 25 minutes or so, and I'll show you what it looks like when we're all done. Okay, and here we go. We have our final dish, and it is a heavy one. Let me just show you right there. But it is delicious. And look at how everything, the rice is all been absorbed. We have the sausages, the beautiful colors from all the peppers, the peas, and everything is ready to go. The only thing left to do right now is to eat it. So let's take a little taste of that, shall we? I'm going to grab a little piece of chicken and sausage, and we're just going to put a little of that right in the pan. There we go. Of course, with fork, and this is my favorite part of my job, actually, is to be able to eat it. Now, I want you to just notice here, and I'll show this camera here. I want you to notice the beautiful yellow color in that rice. That is, a lot of that is due to the saffron, which does impart that yellowness, and that is really just a beautiful colors for the rice to turn. So. Here we go. And we have the, as I said, it's going to be a little bit of a bite to it, but not too spicy. And the bite in this case is more about the chorizo than it is about the paprika. So, oh yeah, that's good. That is really good. The chicken, delicious. This is a dish that you really need to try at home. It has got so many wonderful flavors and colors to it. Of course, as I said, it's not a difficult process, but it is one that requires many pieces to it. And that's where the love comes in. If you take it and you take your time and you get yourself all set up and you put the love into preparing before you start, it will be as quick as this is. And this is really just quite delicious. And before I let you go, let me tell you just a quick little bit of the history on the paella. Because paella, as I mentioned to you, originates from the east coast of Spain. It's a Valencian rice dish. And many non-Spaniards believe that it's Spain's national dish. But if you're in Spain, they actually think it's a regional dish, a dish from the east coast. And there are 3 different types. There is the one we made, which is the traditional Valencian, which has chicken and sausage. And actually, traditionally, it would have snails. Sausage, rabbit, duck, that kind of thing. Then there is the seafood paella, which a lot of people are familiar with, but truly that is not the original dish. And then there is the mixed paella, which has both in there. There is no wrong way to make it. They are all just as delicious, and they're all made the same way. Really, it's just a difference of what kind of meats or fishes you want in there, and you're welcome to have anything that makes you happy. One of my favorite things about this, though, is that according to tradition in Valencia, the paella is generally cooked by men over an open fire. And what they do is it's fueled by orange and pine branches, which also bring an added flavor to the smokiness, and pine cones to the rice in the rice dish. And dinner guests will traditionally eat right out of the pan for their dinner. They have a big pan like this, the paella pan, and they make it right into right out of the pan, I should say. And lastly, if there's anything else there, it is very much a tradition in Valencia when they have festivals to make huge paellas. And there is actually a Guinness Book of World Records entry that was made in the Valencian community. And they made a paella. It is chef, let me see his name, Juan Galbi, or Galbis. I'm sorry if I'm not saying his name properly. Back in 2001, he made a paella with a team of people that fed 110,000 people at their festival. So you can imagine how big that paella was. It had to span yards and yards and yards. And everybody just took a spoon and dug in. And that's truly the traditional way for paella to go. And that alone, everybody eating from a community pan and that kind of thing, is all about the love. And here at Cooking with Love, that's really what makes us happy. So go home or stay home, make a paella, and enjoy. Thanks for coming. Be sure to visit our website at www.peppercorns.com to learn more about our restaurant and to select the link that'll bring you to all of the Cooking with Love episodes.